Women in leadership, we don't experience burnout for one reason. There are merits of reasons that we burn out. For an example, fatigue for making so many decisions. We make decisions from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed, whenever that is, and most of the time we are working within a 24-hour period greater than what is healthy. If you're working, I would say, honestly, more than 5 hours, but I know what you're gonna say. What, 5 hours? Yeah, that's because I've positioned myself to only work 5 hours. But for those that work 10 plus hours a day, I would encourage you to start chipping that down. Now, here are some reasons, because not only are you decision fatigued, but you're irritable. Not only are you irritable, your emotional bandwidth is crashing. How can you continue to push yourself, guilt yourself, and require yourself to work so hard to only get a certain result that has taken so much out of you that you are now out of alignment with your values, you're out of alignment with who you are, your identity? Because let's be real, if you worked in your business, in your leadership role for a period of time, it can be a slippery slope. It becomes your identity. How? Why? I'll tell you, because I experienced this as being a medical provider with 5 clinics over several decades, working, and working until boom, the bottom fell out and I burnt out. And I stayed in burnout for 7.5 years. So I know what this looks like. I can tell you so many symptoms of burnout. You're cynical. You can't think straight. You have brain fog, as they really call it. You're challenging your relationships in your family, your friendships, because you're not prioritizing them. There's no sense of balance with your life. Now, I've heard a lot of people talk about balance is not real. I disagree, and I disagree. Balance is intentionality that goes towards the input of your day that creates an output of equilibrium in the things you got to do. Well, what are the things you have to do? Well, you got to be responsible. You got to work, right? You got to be responsible with your family. You got to be responsible with your community obligations. You got to be responsible with having enjoyment, engagement, self-care, and the list goes on and on. But what happens when we start skipping? It's easy to skip. It is easy to skip. Well, let me just not go to Sunday dinner this week because I got to work on a report that's due on Tuesday. Let me just do that this time, right? And this time becomes that time, and that time becomes so forth and so on. So our alignment to our values becomes skewed because of the perspective that's changed over a period of time, with work being the highest ethical source that you are living in, versus understanding how to live in all facets of your life. So then ultimately your energy rhythms become off. You have less and less energy. You wake up every day, you wake up every year, and you say, where is my energy? And as you try to get your energy back, you're trying to download so many productivity apps. You're trying to talk to people about how they do it. Or the worst thing is to keep it all inside, suppress it. Not only you're living on suppression and fumes because you're exhausted. You're mentally exhausted. It's hard for you to think. It's hard for you to articulate. You're irritable. It's hard for you to manage your staff. Things are getting bad. And oftentimes you don't realize it until it's too late. Well, you can stop that. I can help support you in that. because it's my job to help professional women to navigate the challenges of burnout and to recover. Yeah, I was in burnout for 7.5 years, but I had to shake myself loose and I had to put in miniature activities in place to help me to pull myself back up. And I've created these tools not for you initially, but it was for me. I started working towards finding underwhelming ways. Yeah, you heard me say under, because the overwhelm is already there. I didn't need anything to overwhelm me. I needed some motivation and I needed some morale. And I'll tell you a little bit of story. I didn't realize that my morale was so low hanging to the ground. I didn't realize that until I began to study myself, started working on my introspection within me, and it was revealed to me that my morale was so down. So if your morale is down, then that limits your ideas, that limits your creativity, that limits your joy, and the list goes on and on. So I decided as a medical provider, a burnt out medical provider, hear me, to choose me. Well, what do you mean? Okay, I'll tell you. I did the brave thing. I laid off my staff. I closed my doors. And I chose me because I was in the 6th stage of burnout. Yeah. Well, what does that mean to you? What that really means is I was on the edge of the edge. I was at the place that I didn't care about nothing. I didn't care about responsibilities. I didn't care about this, that, and the other. The only thing I cared about was wanting to rest my mind, to be at peace. And anything that hindered that peace, anything that hindered that rest was my enemy at that time. And these were just normal, regular, everyday things, responsibilities. So I had to get up. I had to speak to myself, get up from this place. Because I'll be honest, that rest turned into a habitual habit that then later caused me to be lazy. So I have a keynote talk that is the subject of, are you burnt out or are you lazy? Now, one thing that we don't realize about burnout is that it is a real thing, and it's so real now that it's actually a medical diagnosis, burnout. I don't know if you knew that or not. So many people have suffered this burnout that they had no choice but to really research and understand what was happening. From a neuroscience point of view, I began to see the changes in me. I knew someone right. Now, I don't mean that I was out there or crazy or etc., but I knew my patterns had changed. I knew, as being a medical provider and knowing all about this stuff and working in my field for 29 years, I knew something had been rewired in me. I became a whole nother person. Seriously. So one day I decided to get myself up. I started to clean myself off. I started to build new habits. I started telling myself no and to get rid of the old habits of being lazy and doing nothing. And once I came to myself, I began to create tools that will help me to be productive and not feel like I am overwhelmed. And now I'm willing to share the secrets with you. So if you are ready to change, you're ready to be more productive, you're ready to be in alignment with your value, you're ready to understand where you are and what's going on with you, you're ready to be refreshed, if you're ready to be rejuvenated, then I want to connect with you. I'm going to give you a resource that you can get started for absolutely free. Go to my website, www.shantaygolson.com/stress relief plan. Download that thing and start working on it, and you'll be on my email list. And then then I'll send you out some free resources, and then you can decide if you want to work with me or not. But it's time for us to redefine success and get ourselves back in line so we can be balanced, fulfilled, and satisfied, because work is not everything. I would love to connect with you. Leave a comment and tell me